Hi, this is Nancy Buswell, and you are listening to the Listen and Repeat podcast, episode 107. This is To Build a Fire 9. This is taken from the short story by Jack London. Remember that Jack London is most famous for writing the short novel Call of the Wild. That's also partly set in Alaska, where of course it's very cold. And in that case, the main character is a dog. In this case, a dog is the supporting character. Here, with this one, the main character is a man, and there's also a dog with him. So, listen and repeat to improve your English pronunciation and intonation. Copy how my voice goes up and down. Listen and repeat. The old-timer on Sulphur Creek was right. He thought in a moment of controlled despair that ensued. After 50 below, a man should travel with a partner. He beat his hands, but failed in exciting any sensation. Suddenly he bared both hands, removing the mittens with his teeth. He caught the whole bunch between the heels of his hands. His arm muscles not being frozen, enabled him to press the hand heels tightly against the matches. Then he scratched the bunch along his leg. It flared into flame. "70 sulfur matches at once." There was no wind to blow them out. He kept his head to one side to escape the strangling fumes. And held the blazing bunch to the birch bark. As he so held it, he became aware of sensation in his hand. His flesh was burning. He could smell it. Deep down below the surface, he could feel it. The sensation developed into pain that grew acute. And still he endured it, holding the flame of the matches clumsily to the bark. That would not light readily, because his own burning hands were in the way, absorbing most of the flame. Wow, his hands are burning. At last, when he could endure no more, he jerked his hands apart. The blazing matches fell sizzling into the snow. But the birch bark was alight. He began laying dry grasses and the tiniest twigs on the flame. He could not pick and choose, for he had to lift the fuel between the heels of his hands. Small pieces of rotten wood and green moss clung to the twigs, and he bit them off as well as he could with his teeth. He cherished the flame carefully and awkwardly. It meant life, and it must not perish. The withdrawal of blood from the surface of his body now made him begin to shiver. And he grew more awkward. A large piece of green moss fell squarely on the little fire. He tried to poke it out with his fingers. But his shivering frame made him poke too far. Frame here means body. And he disrupted the nucleus of the little fire. Nucleus here means the center. The burning grasses and tiny twigs separating and scattering. He tried to poke them together again. But in spite of the tenseness of the effort, his shivering got away with him. And the twigs were hopelessly scattered. Each twig gushed a puff of smoke and went out. The fire provider had failed. As he looked apathetically about him, apathetically is kind of like a mix of hopelessly and doesn't care. His eyes chanced on the dog. Sitting across the ruins of the fire from him. In the snow, making restless, hunching movements. Slightly lifting one forefoot and then the other. shifting its weight back and forth on them with wistful eagerness. The sight of the dog put a wild idea into his head. He remembered the tale of the man caught in a blizzard. A blizzard is a bad snowstorm, who killed a steer and crawled inside the carcass. And so was saved. He would kill the dog and bury his hands in the warm body. Notice B-U-R-Y is pronounced bury, not bury, bury, until the numbness went out of them. Then he could build another fire. He spoke to the dog, calling it to him. But in his voice was a strange note of fear. That frightened the animal, who had never known the man to speak in such way before. Something was the matter, and its suspicious nature sensed danger. It knew not what danger, but somewhere, somehow, in its brain arose an apprehension of the man. It flattened its ears down at the sound of the man's voice. And its restless hunching movements and the liftings and shiftings of his forefeet, its forefeet, became more pronounced, but it would not come to the man. He got on his hands and knees and crawled toward the dog. This unusual posture again excited suspicion. Excited here means caused, though that's not commonly used that way. And the animal sidled mincingly away. And sidled and mincingly both are very uncommon. The simple way would be to say, and the animal moved away slowly and carefully, I think is what it means. We'll have to check. They're not common at all. So, we are finished for today. Now, did you notice something? The man wants to kill the dog so he can put his hands inside the body and get them warm so he can light a fire. So you'll have to wait until the next one to see what happens. Will the man kill the dog? Will the dog run away? What will happen? Okay? So thanks for listening. I hope you found this useful, and I hope you have a good day.